from the IST. There we go. Over to you, JP.
Okay, I'm going to jump in at this point and do a quick introduction to our session, really just to give a feel for those who don't know who the IST are and what we do, just a quick feel for that, and then put that in context with how we're involved with the register. And then JP will come in and tell you all the really interesting stuff. So I'm just going to share screen. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? Yeah, good. Okay. Who are the IST? If you haven't heard of us, then we're the professional body for the technical workforce. Our overall aim is to enhance and develop technical profiles and technical careers. We've been around for a pretty long time. We were established in 1948, which makes us even older than me, which is nice to have something older than me on the day. So we are a not-for-profit organisation, and we're run by technicians for technicians. So every one of our executive body operate on a voluntary basis, and we have all been or are technical staff or technical managers, so we kind of know what the issues are out there because we've been in the sector for a long time. We're licensed to award to one of the professional registers at the moment, and that's the one that's run by the Science Council. So we're licensed to award to our SciTech and chartered scientists, and we've been doing that since, I think we gained our first registration back in 2012, and that was just for our Sci and our SciTech, and then we gained the CSci one 3 or 4 years later. So we've been awarding to the registers for quite some time. We also have our own scheme, which is the Registered Practitioner Scheme, and we originally set that up for individuals that couldn't or chose not to apply for the Science Council or Engineering Council registers, because they didn't want to go through that particular scheme, or they felt that they didn't fit into the criteria. So we had a Registered Practitioner Scheme, which still runs to this day. And in the last few years, we've been using that to provide a registration home for creative technologies. In addition to providing registration frameworks, we also provide and coordinate CPD opportunities and training validation for in-house courses. So a real mix of things that we do, all aimed at improving the technical workforce and providing more opportunities for them. The kind of support that we provide for technicians is across sectors and disciplines, so it doesn't really matter whether you're an arts technician or whether you're a science technician, and it doesn't matter whether you're working in industry, higher education, NHS, government bodies, whatever. If you've got a technical role, then you potentially could be a member of the IST. We've got a variety of levels of membership, so we can pick up members at various points in careers and provide suitable support for those different levels. As I say, we've got I started out as a junior technician, and we have a facility whereby we can have junior members. And then when I'd finished in the higher education sector at University of Manchester, I was running the faculty laboratories. So again, we can accommodate both from the starters up to the aged and wrinkly area. So we're good in terms of the range of membership grades that we've got available. We're skills focused rather than qualifications focused. So whilst lots of professional bodies require and have an absolute requirement for a degree to get into membership, we're a little more flexible than that, and we certainly recognise that a long stint of experience is as equally valid as a qualification in terms of how you operate within your role and the kind of things you do, and the kind of activities that you want support for. We provide lots of networking opportunities, both within the IST itself and with outside organisations. We have a number of special interest groups which are running at the moment. One's associated with AI, and all of the issues that arise from the use of AI. We've got a Women in Tech special interest group. We're about to start an Irish special interest group for the whole of Ireland, not just Northern Ireland, but the whole of the island of Ireland. So we've got those sort of things, and we generate lots of opportunities to network within things like the conference, within training sessions like we've got today, and lots of other activities that we go out to various organisations and provide there. And we can generate bespoke activities and events, lots of different opportunities for CPD basically. And everything we're looking at is to enhance and develop the technical workforce. In terms of membership benefits, we can provide lots of those. We like to get people involved. The more they get involved, the better, and we encourage people to come and join us and carry out various, get involved in various activities with us. As I say, we provide lots of networking opportunities. We've got the registration, which I've spoken about. JP is going to talk much more about the new arts framework, which will sit under our umbrella. The CPD opportunities are many and varied. We've got things like the conferences that people can not only attend, but we encourage people who have never delivered a workshop to get involved and deliver a workshop. We've got publications, so we encourage our members to publish, especially if they've never published anything before, and our editorial board will walk people through the process. All of the registration applications are peer reviewed, so we like to get our members involved in that peer review process. And we've done the publishing, and we get them involved also in assessing the membership applications, particularly at fellowship levels. The fellowships are all assessed by fellows, if you see what I mean. And then we've got conferences and workshops which we run throughout the year. We have a big conference in September. This year we're down at London South Bank, and that will be mid-September. And we have a full day with probably about 16 workshops running in parallel, and 2 or 3 keynotes. And usually our president, Helen Sharman, is with us and runs part of the day. And then one of the other sort of side benefits, as you like, is we have a deal with Dell, so that we can provide our IST members with discounts that are related specifically for IST members, and we're happy to pass over savings and things like that. So in terms of IST, hopefully that will give you a little flavour of who we are, what we do. I'm going to pass over to, I'm going to stop sharing and pass over to JP now, so he can get on more about the things you've come to listen to today, which is the Arts Register. So I'll stop sharing. And over to you, JP.
Thank you, Joan. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see that, and hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm going to start to talk about the importance of registration and the journey that the IST with our creative counterparts have took to put us in a position where we are now with the Creative Register. I know it's been a long time coming, but trust me, if we just gave in, it would be defeating all objects, and we really don't want to do that on behalf all the work that Joan and Terry and Natalie and everybody involved in the creative industries has put into this project. So it's really nice to be able to come and talk today at the HEaTED event about where we are at. So professional registration is really important for me. And I really hate talking about myself, and I hate writing about myself even more. But it is good for so many reasons. It allows me to recognize what I've done. And sometimes it can be very easy to say, oh, I'm just a technician. I think I work hard. I think I do a good job. Whereas the reality is I am a technician. I do work hard and I do a fantastic job. Registration can allow you to be confident that you have many achievements. And in carrying out my own professional registration, it's allowed me to see what they were and that I'm happy that I'm doing more than I actually thought I was. Quite a lot of us are skilled individuals, and registration helps current and future employers understand that you are maintaining high standards. But not only do you achieve yourself, but your employer has a workforce which it can sell to its clients. We are the best, you can trust us. We have a highly skilled workforce. Belonging to a professional community, networking, for example, and being part of the bigger picture is a great way to scope out your future and inspire young people to do the jobs just like yours. If you get a chance to go to the IST conference, there'll be exhibitors, and there may be an opportunity to carry out some of the training from a provider that you have not heard of before. Your proof of competency, and this shows that your work is successful and efficient. Your integrity and accountability, your commitment to bettering yourself through personal and professional development, going the extra mile to show the people your can-do attitude. And importantly, registrations that it shows that you adhere to the codes of conduct and a good ethical standing. But don't take my word for it. This person says that registration showcased the diversity of their skills. Like me, they've become aware that they do so much more than they thought. And this person here says that future job security is dependent on you being a well-rounded individual with a diverse set of skills. This is where registration plays a key role in showing your current or future employer, yes, I am competent and willing to develop. This person also, by chance, also says that it helped them transition into a new role. So, if we think about it, professional registration plays a key role in society and has done for numerous years now, and in some cases is compulsory to carry out a role. Would you, for example, let a doctor, nurse, or a paramedic near you if they were not registered? Judges and solicitors require registration for the bar. Accountants need to be held accountable. My accountants are useless and it takes them ages to sort things out, but at least I know that they are registered and willing to do right by me to stop me from getting fines. Burglars are, does that come up? I can't flip and see the screen. Yes, it does, yeah. Are not registered burglars, thank goodness. But several alarm companies and engineers have to show their registration abilities so you can trust them. Police have to follow procedures and continually train and develop. Even your electricians and gas technicians need to comply with regulations through compliance certificates. This accountability and responsibility is a matter of compulsion with these professions. It does make you wonder, why is that not the case for scientists, engineers, creative individuals as well? The current registers in existence, I may have missed some, but in addition to these highly respected and professional roles in society, include the science and engineering councils. The IST were the first people to start championing the arts and creative technicians, so they created the registered practitioner program to run alongside other registers like the registered scientist. Now this was good, it was progressive, but it wasn't a register dedicated to the creative practitioners. In fact, I'm not aware of any register that exists for creative technicians and practitioners. So we decided to get some feedback from our IST community and from a lot of the UK higher education institutions, and lots of creative technicians told us, why is there a register for all the bloody scientists and not for us? So from this feedback, we wanted to develop a professional registration framework that represents and upholds the values, the skills, the competencies, and the responsibilities of the creative industries. And I know this next slide might be teaching quite a few of you how to suck eggs because you're all from the creative industries, but for the benefit of new individuals in the industry, the creative industries are defined by the UK government as those individuals which have their origin in an individual creativity, skill and talent, and which have a potential for wealth and job creation through the generation and exploitation of intellectual property, which all sounds like Boris Bump. But in a nutshell, it means the creative industries have 9 subsectors, although do correct me if I'm wrong, as with all the governments, they shuffle and they change things to make it look like they're doing something. But we have in the UK a large cohort of our skilled professionals falling into one of these subsectors. Advertising and marketing, architecture, crafts and design, film, TV, video, radio, photography, IT, video games, where a huge proportion of technicians are based, computer services, museums, galleries, libraries, music, performing and visual arts, and publishing. Back in 2018, there were over 2 million employees in the creative industries, according to the Creative Industries Council. And almost 1 in 8 UK businesses were creative businesses. These creative industries at the time contributed to 111.7 billion GDP to the UK economy, which was greater than the automotive, aerospace, life sciences, and oil and gas industries, all combined. In fact, they were second to finance, the second biggest GDP bringer in. So it does make you wonder why it took the government a long time to help those in the creative industries over COVID, because it has such a valuable workforce. Well, the IST never forgot how important the industry was, and we had some great community work and conversations with creative technicians through that time. The pie chart here on this slide shows the percentage of employees as of 2018 in the creative industries. I believe a lot of it may be very similar to what it is now, with the IT, video games, software, and computer services being the largest part of the industry. And in 2021, they actually contributed to 2.3% of the UK economy. My point being, these individuals working in the creative industries are professional, they're skilled, they're valued, and they're competent. So they should have a register to share that. The Creative Industries Council has highlighted in a previous report that employees in the sector take ownership of skills development to aid in the access to more ladders of opportunity. So the IST, with the IST working group made up of technicians and practitioners from all across the UK and all of the creative specialties, started knocking our heads together to create a programme that could demonstrate a commitment to creativity, support and inspire young people to pursue careers in this particular industry, identify skills levels and upskilling, and to demonstrate and follow codes of conduct. Many of the individuals in the working group took part in the registered practitioner programme that Joe mentioned, and for them, this was quite a new register specifically for those individuals who couldn't fit into the science or engineering brackets. Our president, Helen Sharman, has also always endorsed this project and has on occasion given awards to these brilliant creative practitioners that we see in front of us. We felt it was really important to make sure that the IST as a whole was delivering equality to each of the sectors. So we included topics for creative practitioners in our conferences. We gave specific sections dedicated to them in our publications. And in 2019, our conference, a large proportion of this was tailored towards the creative technicians in our community. And it was really well received, which was really good. As a result of working with all these people, working with the creative industries across the UK, higher education, and some from other industries, we were able to put together a framework that looked at particular sections which mimic the registration profiles similar to those of science and engineering, but we wanted them to be more creative. We wanted to, and going from the feedback that lots of people gave us from the working groups, you know, there was a potential that a lot of these current ones are done on paper, and the creative technicians would soon have this all online for them to do. So that's something that, you know, later down the line is going to be really, really considered. But section A, looking at your subject knowledge and skills, your B, your competency and responsibility, C, your communication and your teamwork, D, looking at the professional skills, and E, your personal and practical development. All of these showing how you take accountability and can showcase the valuable skills within this sector, the professional status that creative technologies deserve. Now, Creative England and the Creative Industries Federation, what was known as CIF, have joined forces and they've now created Creative UK. Through a lot of the process, we had a lot of people telling us the IST are the Institute of Science and Technology. How does that relate to the creative industries? Now, changing the name of an organization like the IST is an incredibly difficult process. And we've always seen that the technology part of the name encompasses the engineers, the digital, the creative technicians. Ultimately, we are the professional body for technicians. Therefore, it's really important to find us an organization that could endorse the registration framework that creative individuals could identify with. Hopefully, some of you may have seen that we've had a press release out recently from Creative UK showing that with both of us, the IST and Creative UK, will be working together to achieve our collective goal. And this will be managed by the IST as we have the experience in managing registration frameworks. But having the backing from an organisation like Creative UK is certainly a great step forwards. The IST and the working groups have come across several hurdles that have slowed down the progress. However, we are still very committed to giving creative individuals and creative technicians a register for them. Going forwards, the first register that will be available will be mapped to a level similar to those at level 5 or registered scientists like myself, with the objective to create a register to follow on at a higher level. This can be done once the steering group is approved. And once the steering group approves this, this steering group in particular will have 2 members from Creative UK. It'll have 2 members from the IST executive and a mixture of IST members within the creative industries across our membership, going all the way across the UK. So good representation. We've been very lucky to have a great group help us get to this point at the minute. All of the technicians, technical managers that have been in place have done really strides and bounds to get us to where we are. Professional registration is a basic tenet of the technician commitment, which I'm sure most of us here are very aware of, and speaks to all 4 of the pillars. We aim to give more creative practitioners more visibility at our events, recognition through a register specifically for those creative individuals, working with our partners, the National Technician Development Centre, to help develop technical careers in this UK dependent industry, or I certainly believe that the UK is dependent on this industry, a representation to our members and executive in positions that can influence the future of T levels, apprenticeships, training as a whole to support the sustainability. This year is the 75th year that Joan's already indicated that IST has been supporting the technical community for. So look out for any of the events that we'll be carrying out to celebrate those fantastic years. That's all I need to say about this, but please feel free to ask any questions. I believe we have a bit of time left, and I hope that you found that interesting and are looking forward to what's to come. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you, JP and Joan. Yes, so if anybody's got any questions, please just, Jan's done it already. Put your hand up, pop them in the chat and we'll go through them. So Jan?
Hello, can you see me? Because I've started the video, but it doesn't look like it's come on. Sorry about that. I was just, JP, in a position to start awarding these now. Can we apply for them? I might have missed that.
Yes, so inevitably, all the steering group has to do is approve the step forwards. So in the next couple of months, we will see some technicians being able to move onto this register. There'll be a slight, so for those who are registered practitioners already, of which we have quite a few, those will have a little bit of a step forwards, because it's a little bit like going from the RSI tech to registered scientist. So those people will be able to go for it straight away. And in doing that, we'll have people at that right level to be able to assess new people. And me and Joan and the rest of the IST envisage that will be in the next couple of months.
Okay, that's great. I mean, we'll be having some new people starting from scratch at Liverpool, so they're not registered practitioners already. So are you advising that we wait a little bit or start looking at it now? Or
I would always encourage going for the registered practitioner scheme, because it is the
go for that now.
It is the starting point.
Yeah.
And certainly that registered practitioner scheme was there for and is there for technicians who don't fit into the science and engineering criteria. The creative industries register that we're making is the one that's specifically for creative individuals. So those people can move on to that scheme once it's there.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, it is really exciting news, and well done to you getting it off the ground. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that's helped us get there.
We'll go to Uzma. You were first with your hand up.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, JP. Just a quick one. I'm sorry if I missed it. Is there an option for apprentices to join the register as an apprentice?
So I think that apprentices can go in starting at the registered practitioner level, and then once, as long as they're showcasing all the right sort of skills, the right sort of understanding, competencies, then apprentices can also work towards the schemes in the very same ways that they can work towards the R-side tech, the R-side, and then eventually the C-side. So it certainly is a stepping stone for them, but certainly the IST believe firmly in giving those opportunities to apprenticeships. So it'd be something for us to certainly make sure that they were definitely allowed to have access to this register.
Thank you.
Joan, did you want to mention anything more about that?
I guess it's probably just worth bearing in mind that if we're the first register is the sort of middle grade register that would be equivalent to registered scientist, and the basic the normal requirements for that within the Science Council would be a level 5 qualification and a minimum of 2 to 3 years work experience. And in some cases, apprentices wouldn't be able to go straight in at that level because they haven't got enough work experience. We wouldn't necessarily make it a hard and fast rule that they've got to have a level 5 qualification. It all very much depends on the level of experience and what they've been doing. So like JP says, it may be in the first instance better for them to come in as a registered practitioner, and then we can work with them to show what they need to do to move forward onto the main register at the equivalent to an RSI. So I think it's a stepping stone. the Science Council do offer a route for apprentices through to their registrations, but in many cases they're coming in at our SciTech level, which is the earlier level where you don't need the qualification and the same length of service. So it may be that we look at something like that.
Yeah, and the registration fee, would that be nominal for an apprentice or waived?
It wouldn't be waived because there are cost implications of actually maintaining the register. But if you, I mean, not to blow our own trumpet too much, but if you look at all of the other professional bodies that are licensed to award, the IST membership fee is probably the lowest of all of them. And then we would look to have a similar registration fee as the registers that are already out there, which are about £25 a year. So not massively onerous in terms of cost. But we'd also look at ways we can actually try and sort of moderate that into a certain extent, insofar as seeing if we can provide people with an opportunity to spread the cost throughout the year, rather than having to suddenly find a chunk when they're due to renew. We could look at potentially a quarterly or monthly payment towards it, so it's kept at a fairly low level. And we'd look at all of that, and that's particularly relevant for early careers where salaries are pretty low. But we're looking at all of that, and are very conscious of the issues that people have to deal with.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry.
Just to add to that as well, that I know that the IST have given sort of opportunities out in the past around Apprenticeship Week, where they have given discounts on the prices and things like that. So sort of like keeping involved with the IST and knowing what's happening is really key as well, to find those good discount times. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah, John, if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, thanks. I think some of what I was going to ask has just been answered by Uzma and Jan, actually, but I just wanted to focus perhaps on the registration. You mentioned like level 5 qualification. Would that be right in thinking that the requirement of registration would look at experiential, the accruement of what you've done to actually like acquire that registration, or would there be testing, or is it just like looking at the experience of what the practitioners have done already? I'm just trying to get a clear understanding of that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll jump in on that and just say that as with the registered scientist and registered engineer kind of awards, there is a notional qualification level, but we as a body don't enforce that as a qualification. What we say is, if you can demonstrate that you're using level 5 knowledge, you don't necessarily have to have a degree. You could be using level 5 knowledge that you've acquired through experience, and so long as you can demonstrate that and provide evidence that that's what you're doing and that you're working at that level, and you've got sufficient length of experience, then that's okay with us. I mean, as I said at the beginning, we're skills focused rather than qualifications focused, and experience counts for a lot, and we recognise that.
Yeah, I guess it's like looking at the practitioners that we have and kind of assessing their roles within the institution currently to kind of piece that together, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be happy to work with, individual organisations if they've got a chunk of, a cohort of technicians that they're interested in getting involved with this. We can look at what you've got, what levels they're working at, and then try and work a programme out with you to get those people registered at whatever level is appropriate.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it covered. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
There's also a question from Jan Brett on this. Can you apply straight for RCIP, which is the Registered Creative Industry Practitioner, or do we need the registered practitioner first? So I can answer this question if you want, Joan. So if you can demonstrate and you can evidence that you're working at the RSIP level, there's no reason why you can't just go straight for that level. And when we have the level above that, if you can demonstrate that you work to that level, you'll be able to go straight into that. But ideally, what the process should work is very similar to how the science and engineering councils work. So it depends on your level, and if you need a little bit of support beforehand, go into the lower one and work your way up.
Okay, fantastic. Is there any more questions? Is that everything? I'm sure afterwards, if it's all right with you two, I'll pop your contact emails out in the email. And if there's anything, any questions anybody's got, please feel free to reach out. But yeah, thank you both. And I have to echo how exciting it is, especially as part of the HCPN. It feels like a massive step towards equal recognition. So I can't wait to see it just blossom and bloom. Yeah, so thank you. We're going to move on to the next session now. Anna and Adit, if you are there and ready to share your screens, I will hand it over to you both from HEaTED. And yeah, thank you. Take it away.
Thank you so much, and thanks so much to those at HEaTED for inviting us to speak to you today. I'm just going to share my screen to get things going, so hopefully that's coming up now and everyone can see that. Great, so my name is Anna Maloney. I'm the Director for Membership and Operations at the Council for Higher Education in Art and Design, known as HEaTED. And I'm going to outline some of our advocacy work and our membership programme, and then I'm going to hand over to Abid, who will give more detail around our technical alliance and a technical leaders programme that we're currently developing, and more about ETHO. So HEaTED is the representative body for the art, design, creative media and related disciplines in higher education. We have 68 institutional members across the UK 4 nations, and these range from small specialists all the way up to the larger multi-faculties. HEaTED is constituted as a charity, and we are steered by a board of trustees who are drawn from our membership. And those individuals are listed on our governance page on our website. Elections are held every year in the spring during our annual general meeting, and HEaTED is supported by 2 directors, so myself and my colleague Sandra Booth, who covers the policy and external relations work. And our current chair is Professor David McGravie, who is based at the University of Chester. So we have a strategic plan which sets out 5 strategic priorities, and these are equity, diversity and inclusion, leadership, learning and teaching, research and advocacy. And we have 2 main areas of work. So we have our advocacy work and our membership resources. So I'm just going to outline the advocacy work that we do. So our advocacy aim is to reinstate art and design subjects and sectors as strategically important. And we do this through such kind of formal methods such as consulting. So we consult with the sector and respond to consultations and inquiries launched by the government. So for example, changes to TEF and REF. Currently there's a call for an inquiry into the performance of the Office for Students, so we'll be engaged in that too. Our overarching ambition is to raise the profile of HEaTED as kind of key stakeholders in policy making through the lens of the creative disciplines, and specifically art and design research. And we have evidence of the value of art and design research, but we're aware that there is a lack of understanding around the existence of this evidence and a lack of adoption of the findings and the methods. Our main avenue into government departments is via the APDIG, which is the All-Party Parliamentary Design and Innovation Working Group, which is hosted by the policy think tank Policy Connect. And so our shared aims with the APDIG are to publish a series of policy research reports to illustrate the diversity, value and impact of art and design research. We also want to challenge stakeholders and policymakers to reevaluate the contribution of art and design research within the wider research ecosystem and the multiple ways in which it contributes to the knowledge base innovation and economic activity. And we want to drive up levels of adoption of art and design research methodologies, practice and usage of the existing evidence base. In addition to the APDIG, we're also members of 2 other APBGs, the Craft Design Education run by NSEAD, so that links us up with schools and FE policy, and also the Group for Visual Arts, which links us into museums and galleries. So through our sponsorship of the APDIG, we have direct contact with Policy Connect, who run a manufacturing working group and also the Higher Education Skills Commission. So we've got opportunities through them to disseminate our wider findings to members and to put representative speakers forward for roundtables and inquiries. So one of the main key ways that we disseminate our advocacy work to our members is through our policy briefings, and these go out every month. We issue those to over 900 subscribers on our mailing list. And so these policy briefings serve as sector insight and intelligence on the main higher education, art and design policy interventions that are likely to have an impact on our sector. You can sign up for these, or they are also available to download from our website. So our recent responses to consultations, we often issue surveys to members to take a snapshot of sector-wide opinion in order to substantiate our asks of government. And we often seek illustrative case studies of good practice in order to illustrate these key messages. So some examples of our campaigning work, our recent joint work with FACE, Fashion Academics Creating Equality. They had a See My Face campaign which sought to and indirectly led to questions on inclusion and belonging being added to the NSS. So our current focus is our key targets for stakeholder engagement with the opposition parties in the run-up to the general election. So we're focusing on developing inclusive and expansive creative and education manifestos. We're targeting the reforms to the cultural education plan, reforms to design education, economic plans for growth, research and development and innovation, where arts practice and design thinking would actually result in better policy outcomes. We also work with multiple partners in order to develop a consistent voice for the sector. And so, for example, we're involved in a piece of work currently with the Design Council, mapping the design economy and predicting skills demands. And this work is about positioning design with the within the levelling up and urban planning regulations, and also a catalyst for achieving net zero. So I'm just going to outline some of the specialist alliances that our membership offers. So our Research Alliance brings together researchers and research leaders, and we hold regular events throughout the year. So recent events have touched on interdisciplinary working and also research ecosystems. Our Subject Association Alliance provides a space really for those who are involved in subject associations to come together to share information, collaborate and raise awareness of subject associations within higher education institutions. Our EDI Alliance provides a space for colleagues who are responsible for EDI in their institutions to come together, and that's framed by an action plan which is actively managed by HEaTED. And then the Technical Alliance, the most relevant to you, brings technical colleagues together to connect technical expertise, knowledge and experience into kind of wider art and design, higher education debates, and to communicate and share best practice. And Abid's going to cover more detail about this shortly. I'm just going to highlight some membership resources and events that we offer to our members. So we run these throughout the year. Past events have covered topics such as Generation Z, Alpha and C. In this event, we discussed what creative educators need to understand around how this new cohort's experience will shape their learning and behaviour. We recently had a Women in Leadership event, which considered women's leadership in higher education through the lens of art and design. We looked at barriers to women leaders in higher education and pathways for women into leadership roles. This event delivered a dedicated technical breakout session that was led by Dr. Kate Dixon, who's the Director of Technical Services at MMU, and Anita Kopok, Technical Services Manager at the University of Creative Arts. Our annual conference takes place every year at a host member institution. Our most recent conference took place at Kingston University around the theme of creative graduates and future skills. And the recordings of the keynotes will be available on our website very soon, so in the next couple of weeks. Last year, we developed and delivered a hugely successful climate justice series in partnership with UAL that brought together artists, designers, educators to discuss a series of related topics covering things like decarbonising the university and the role of creative educators in advancing climate justice. And again, the recordings of all the sessions are available on our website. And then in the autumn coming up, we've got an event that's going to showcase innovative methods of curriculum delivery aligned to future skills, employability, and professional practice. We also run ad hoc meetings that we really are designed to respond to emerging issues raised by our members. So recent meetings have addressed graduate shows, in particular the value of the London graduate shows, and we're also looking currently at portfolio development and submission guidelines. Just to outline quickly our leadership programme that runs throughout the year. This programme is designed to support the development of the current and next generation of leaders, and it's very much through the lens of art and design rather than maybe a more generic training programme that you might find within the institution. So some of our recent themes have covered things like atypical leaders, cultural capital and change management. In May, we have one coming up where we'll be discussing new ways of learning in our Developing Creative Pedagogic Practice seminar. And in October, we'll be focusing on studio culture. So we're interested in post-pandemic student behaviours, new technologies and hybrid approaches. And we're kind of looking at what does a successful student look like and what would a corresponding studio space look like. And we're going to be joined by Mark Wilshire, who's based at Norwich University of the Arts, who's been running a project investigating attitudes to the studio amongst their animation students. So finally, a couple of ways to get involved. First of all, check if your institution is a member. There's a full list of institutional members on our website. If they're not, there's lots of information on our website about how to sign up, and you can join at any stage throughout the year. If your institution is a member, join our mailing list, join the Technical Alliance, and any further information can be found on our website, which is listed there, and also our email address. So feel free to get in touch if you have any questions or follow-up queries after this session. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to hand over to Abid, who will tell you more about our Technical Alliance and ETHO. Thanks.
Thank you, Anna. Right, let's see if this works. Can you see that okay? Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you, HEaTED, for the invitation to kind of come and speak this afternoon. So my name's Abid Kaim. I'm currently head of school operations at Nottingham Trent University, Nottingham School of Art and Design. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a kind of summary of the kind of activities we've been doing in collaboration with both HEaTED and also Ilya, who will kind of do a presentation after my presentation, and particularly the technical community within higher arts education, so art schools. So what we plan to do is, what I'll do is kind of give you a summary of what we've been up to, the kind of timelines of activities that we have, and the things that we're planning for the future. So just a bit of background about me. So I was a technician years ago. So my background is actually technical art in art education. I was a digital imaging specialist in various kinds of art schools across, mainly around in London. I then became a technical manager at the University of the Arts London in 2005, and I was there for 7 years, and I was kind of there while we went through significant change where we started defining the roles of the technicians more clearly, mainly around the national pay framework and defining what the role of the technician was within, particularly around art and design education. And then I spent 10 years at the Royal College of Art as head of technical services. So I oversaw a team of 120 specialist technical staff working across a whole range of disciplines. And this will just give you an idea of the kinds of things I was involved in. So while I was at the Royal College of Art, the institution was going through significant change. So they were growing, they were taking on more students, they were increasing the number of courses. So it was quite a large transformational piece that I was involved in. And whilst there, I was trying to get as much support as I could. And in most cases, I wasn't getting that internally within the in the institution, so there weren't a lot of people I could talk to about the technical disciplines and the technical workshops. So I quickly found it was easier to talk to people at other institutions that were doing a very similar role. So through informal networks, I started to build up a list of individuals I was talking to regularly about the things that I was dealing with, but more importantly, the things that were kind of quite common, shared themes that were emerging. And then so that group became quite large. And then in 2016, we decided to have just a gathering of all the individuals I'd been speaking to across Europe. So these were predominantly technical managers and heads of technical services at art and design HEIs across Europe. So we had an inaugural meeting in 2016, and we had 15 individuals turn up. And we quickly found a lot of common ground. So we knew that the things that we were talking about individually were really important. So we quickly identified common ground, and we decided to collaborate and came up with key themes that we wanted to explore. So a lot of that was around training of our staff and the support that they may need around the development, things around sharing information and good practice that became really important, especially when they were dealing with change, and change seemed to be a constant theme that emerged. So we kind of looked at strategies for dealing with change, and quite often it was growth or new buildings. And at the end of the event, we agreed that we would collaborate, and we kind of signed this menu, the back of the menu, to say, yes, this was a really good idea, and we would start to collaborate. And that event, that kind of group has been growing since 2016. And we've been quite active. So we started back in 2016, the Royal College of Art, and we had 2 events a year. Some of these were aimed at more of the technical managers and heads of technical, so it was more of a strategic event to look at the themes that are emerging. And then we also started focusing on how could we use this network to support our staff and the technical staff on the front line. So we started to host events which were designed for the technical community, to give them a platform to come together, share knowledge, good practice around the themes that we'd identified or the themes that were emerging. So we're having 2 events a year, and really successful. In 2019, which was our major big event before we went into lockdown, we had 160 technicians turn up to Helsinki, which was great to see. So we also kind of timed these events to coincide with pivotal moments with these particular institutions, and quite often that related to when there was a new building being built or when there was a major new change happening. So it also gave the technicians a real kind of insight into that moment where there was a transformation going on, and also created an ideal platform to reflect on our own practice. So the kinds of things we do at these events are kind of vary significantly depending on what the kind of interests of the group is at that particular moment, or what is kind of topical. So quite often we have large presentations. So this is in Helsinki, where the dean of the school came and presented and outlined his views on the importance of the technical community within art schools. This was our last event in London back in February, where we had a panel discussion with various kind of technical staff and technical heads working in art schools, talking about what is technical teaching and how do you kind of frame that. We're going to spend a lot of time doing kind of workshop ideas as well. So when themes do emerge from the community, we try to kind of create space for individuals to come together and try to collectively address an issue or look at a problem. We love tours, so we're very technically minded, so we do spend a lot of time, especially when we look at new buildings. We do go to a lot of interesting spaces to kind of look at what they do and how they do it, and we find that's a really valuable kind of part of the community, and the technical staff find that really inspiring and useful. So this is another example of a South Bank University. We were looking at new technologies. So the other kind of things we do is kind of try to see, well, when there is emerging technology, how do we respond to that, and what's the role of the technical instructor or technician in that kind of environment. So this is looking at kind of motion capture and particularly immersive media. But we do still kind of have a lot of members who have large traditional workshop. So we do also provide that kind of context and also support. And this was a hands-on workshop that Farnham, the University of Creative Arts, did for the group. And this was a big event. So we get a lot of kind of attendance, a lot of kind of people coming up. So we had, I think, over 180 individuals at the London event. And outside the kind of formal kind of conference, we try to create space for as much time for technicians to speak to other technicians working in various institutions. So we do a lot of this. So when we're at a space, we try to create these kind of moments for, and this is in Budapest, where the architectural department did a tour of the city. So we try to create those kind of social moments that allows people to kind of have that conversation outside the classroom environment. And obviously we spend a lot of time socializing in the bars and pubs in the places that we go to. And just a couple of practical examples. So this was an example or case study of when I was at the RCA, I was approached by Helsinki Aalto University when they were looking at setting up a new knit department and particularly procuring knit equipment. So what they did was they worked with my specialist knit technician to build up their capacity and capability, not just with equipment, but then also around their staffing. And that was a really nice example of how we were sharing information across institutions. It's another example of when back again at the RCA, we had a visit from the Royal Academy at The Hague. They were investing in scanning technology, particularly around 3D manufacturing and output and 3D printing. So while I was at the RCA, we had quite a sophisticated 3D print bureau which provided these facilities. So the technical member of staff from the Royal Academy at The Hague came in and shadowed my staff for a week, and vice versa. So one of my staff then went back to Amsterdam and had that. A lot of that pre-Brexit was kind of supported through the Erasmus scheme. So we're doing a lot less of that now across between the UK and Europe, but we are starting to focus a bit more on where those funding opportunities are to ensure that we can continue to do some of that kind of staff exchange activity. During lockdown, obviously, we were very busy to kind of provide the community an opportunity and a space to kind of deal with the here and now of the challenges that we all face. So we started doing this monthly webinar series through the ILIA platform, which was, you can just see some of the numbers of the individuals that were attending, the participants. So covering everything from how do you keep the making going when the workshops are closed to what the end of year degree show looks like and various other kind of topical things. And then we kind of kept that webinar series going, although we've not done one recently, but we kept it going, picking up some of those kind of themes that were really important to us and some of the things that Anna mentioned about some of that key strategic areas that we wanted to focus on, particularly around EDI, emerging technology, again, picking this idea of the changing role of the technician within art and design education, and what is that and how has it evolved and how do we support that. And then I suppose we were working at quite a European level with ILIA, because ILIA, as Deborah will say later, is a European network, a membership network of HEIs. But what we found was there were a number of factors which meant we were having a lot of interesting conversations locally, and we felt actually there was a need for a local platform. Partly Brexit and some of the challenges around funding and those kind of connections that we had before weren't there. Partly the kind of response to COVID, there was very much a need to focus on local issues, whether that was to do with local legislation or regulation that was coming out, or what do you do in this scenario, and obviously the different European countries were kind of taking a very different approach. So we found actually we needed a platform for more of a local conversation, which was really helpful. But then also recognizing the amazing stuff that people like HEaTED are doing in the UK, HEaTED, the Technician Commitment, obviously Midlands Innovation, the National Technician Development Centre. There's loads of really interesting stuff coming out of the UK, particularly the government, and it talked about some of the advocacy work that they're doing. Use UKRI and their kind of analysis of the role of the technician and the Office of Students and Universities UK. So there's so much really interesting things going on there. So we felt, particularly the art and design community, that we needed to kind of coordinate ourselves a bit better, in the sense that we needed to create a platform to have a single voice that we could start to engage with some of these kind of topics, because quite often we're finding, particularly, you know, we're talking today about the IST and science technology. I think the kind of feedback we had was there was always that kind of imposter syndrome, where the creative art technicians would turn up to those things and not feel like they were in the right room. So we felt like, actually, for us to engage better with the great initiatives that are happening in the UK, how do we create this platform to kind of start to coordinate and understand what that means and what that looks like. So the idea of the UK Art and Design Technical Alliance, and particularly aligning it with HEaTED, there's a ready-made partnership there where most of our institutions are already members of HEaTED, and they're doing amazing work. And the other thing we were keen on doing was not just having a conversation amongst the technical community. We wanted to be part of the wider art and design community, where technical is integral, obviously, and we wanted to be part of a wider debate that was happening around art and design education, and that HEaTED was the obvious platform for us to kind of, in the UK, to engage with. And so we kind of set about kind of establishing this kind of platform to kind of create opportunities. Similarly, we were doing with ILIA and ETHO, but kind of really focusing on the UK. And we had our inaugural meeting in December 21, where we were testing the water, really, to say, with all the HEaTED members, we had representatives from different HEIs, and we were testing the water to say, well, is there a need for this platform, and should we even bother? And actually, the overwhelming response was yes, we really need this in the UK for the art and design technical community. So from there, we quickly identified some of the key priorities, and not surprisingly, these were kind of common themes that you kind of hear again and again, around recognition, around workload allocation and structures, around development and motivation and collaboration. So how do we support the community? And these are the themes that were emerging in the conversations we were having that initial meeting, and around sustainability and social justice. So from that, it gave us, as we thought, a very kind of aligned set of priorities of focus, which was also aligned to some of the things that HEaTED had been talking about anyway. And we started to focus on an event. So we eventually had, so after the December inaugural meeting, we hosted an event for all the HEaTED members, technical communities and HEaTED members, and we held it in Nottingham. I held it there, and the themes that we kind of covered were, what is the role of the technician, and what is technical teaching, and technical teams and structures, and we did a whole piece around sustainability. And it was a moment to give the art and design technical community, the platform, to kind of come together and speak to other technicians, and focus very much on that conversation about art and design. So going forward, so that, I mean, this is our kind of statement. So going forward, we've got a number of kind of things planned, and Anna mentioned a leadership program. So what we're doing is we're developing through HEaTED, because they've got a lot of experience in this, particularly working with senior academic and other kind of members of our organizations, in developing leaders. So we felt it was appropriate that we have a very similar, very bespoke and tailored leadership program for the technical community working art design. So we are working on a program. I think we've got an agenda set up, and the plan is that we will launch that in September. So you please look out for that. So in September, there'll be a small, we're hoping for a small cohort of about 12 individuals. These would be ideally, or the kind of what we're pitching it at is individuals who kind of either moved into a management role, or are aspiring to be kind of leaders, or need have taken up that role within their institution. And so the idea is that we develop a program to support them at that moment in their journey, but then also using our existing technical community alongside attending 3 kind of events over the year. We're also looking at coaching and mentoring. So sign up to the program, and the idea is that you will be coached and mentored with people who are on senior technical leader roles, people like Kate Dixon and people like James Russell at the RCA, and other kind of individuals like that who are in senior positions of influence within these art institutions, who can coach and mentor the next generation of leaders. So that's something that we're setting up in September. Alongside that, one of the things we kind of are really pushing is this idea of local networks, or regional collaboration between institutions. And there's two things going on, and it'd be interesting to hear who's here today and whether there's kind of other groups that we can set up. And these are kind of moments where we're creating space for individuals that work in these institutions to come together. And the idea is that there's about an hour's travel distance between these institutions, so they are very local, very regional, to give them that kind of network of kind of peers working in very similar roles down the road. So if there are things that they need to kind of resolve quickly, we can do that at a local level. But then also from I suppose from a overall perspective for the Alliance, it would be interesting to see as well what are the themes that are emerging that these groups are talking about, and how do we frame that and turn that into a wider conversation that we want to have either in the UK or across Europe. So the two that we've got going on at the moment are the Midlands Art and Design Technical Community. So we went to Birmingham City University, they hosted us, and then now we have an event on the 12th of June at Derby University. So Derby are going to host. So any technical staff on this call who work in the Midlands, please do kind of get in touch, and we'll kind of make sure that you kind of get to that event. So this is aimed at technical staff working in art and design, obviously, but yeah, do get in touch. The other thing that I've been working on, and I got back just yesterday actually, from an initiative around the kind of Scottish art schools. So we have collaboration now between the four, where we're going to try and expand it to 5, but we had a meeting yesterday with the 4 art schools, the main art schools in Scotland: Edinburgh, Glasgow, Dundee and Aberdeen. So we had their heads of technical and their technical managers at a meeting yesterday, and we're looking at, and I think it's fine, I hope Anna doesn't mind, we're looking at an event to be held in Scotland as our next Technical Alliance event in November 23 in Edinburgh. So that's what we have planned coming up. So yeah, so I've got my email address there. Obviously you can reach me through either Ilya or HEaTED. Say it is very much a from the ground up kind of network that is there for the community. We know their agenda to kind of work out what the community needs and how do we support that. So very much kind of focusing on what the themes are emerging and what the needs are. So it'll be interesting to hear from anyone, comments, observations, things that we should be doing, you'd be interested in. And yeah, I'd be really interested in that. So please do get involved. Stop sharing at that point. I don't know if there are any questions. No. So I'd like to pass over to Derval from Ilya. Yeah, perfect.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me okay? Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so thanks very much for having me or having us on behalf of Elia. My name is Derval Quigley. I'm the communications manager at Elia. I'm delighted to speak at this event because I understand HEaTED is based in Sheffield, and I have a very strong connection, having studied film at Sheffield Hallam and lectured in Leeds Met and worked in Sheffield Independent Film and in the CAQ quarter. So yeah, lots of love going to that part of the world. But today I'm going to talk to you about Elia, and we're a globally connected higher arts education network. Our office is based in Amsterdam, where I'm based now, and I'm just going to give you I suppose an overview of what we do to see for you to decide yourself whether there are ways that you think you would like to connect, and maybe there's possibilities there that you might want to seek out in the future. So first, I'd like you to start with a little Mentimeter quiz. Well, it's just really a little cloud to see who we have in the room. I'm gonna try and make this work. So if you could scan the QR code, or if you don't want to do that, you can just go on your phone to menti.com and use the code 88022028. And I suppose this is just really to see who we have in the room. So great. So the first question is, what do you do, or what is your current profession? So great. Technical manager, marketing, photography. Yeah, also good to know what, discipline you're specializing in, if you do. I've left it so that you can enter multiple, because I realized that contracts differ, our lives work in different ways. If you're an artist practitioner, put it out there. If you're, great to see. So lots of disciplines represented. Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. So then we'll move on to the next question, which is what current urgencies and issues need to be addressed in higher arts education? So, great, thank you for that. Post-COVID arts cuts in schools. Demographic, yes. Validation. Recognition, career progression, community. Okay. Community. Funding. Yeah. Brilliant. Sustainability. Okay, good. I'll go back. So hopefully you can all see my PowerPoint. I've moved on to the next slide. Basically, ELIA was founded in 1990. We are a member organization. We have our members are constituted as institutions, so arts and design institutions. We have now 285, predominantly based in Europe, but we have representatives in 52 countries around the world. So you can see 250 European, 35 non-European. Actually, most of our member organizations are based in the UK, and we also represent students. This is just an overview of our European members, so you can get to see where we're based. I'll move quickly. And our members globally. So really what I wanted to talk to you today about was, I was hoping that some of you are hopefully already ELIA members. So I just put up a list there of our current members from the UK. So if you are a member and you're not aware of what ELIA does, or you haven't taken part in ELIA events yet, this is a kind of an information session about what we do. And I also want to show you that you two can connect and basically let you know how you can connect, because sometimes not all departments within a university know that their university is actually an ELIA member, and they don't know how they can benefit. So, you know, it's just basically helping you to make use of this. ELIA membership benefits include networking, matchmaking. We can put members in contact with each other. We can highlight funding opportunities. We can build alliances. We also have an advocacy officer who facilitates our platforms, writing policy papers and positioning papers. We are predominantly a knowledge exchange, and we facilitate academic discourse at our events. And it's very social. It's very, I suppose, just the gathering of like minds together and seeing what happens. And then as an organization, we have formulated different platforms and events to be able to facilitate conversations further in line with our strategic priorities. So professional development and lifelong learning is a part of what we do. And of course, we give your institution the opportunity to profile its work and its students' work and your research on a European scale. We work across disciplines, so that includes all of the artistic disciplines you would imagine, plus architecture, conservation, creative writing, and others. We're independent. We're supported by our current president, who's newly voted in, elected Suzanne Stürmer from the University of Babelsberg, Konrad Wolf. And we have the ELIA office, supported by the ELIA team, headed by Executive Director Maria Hansen. ELIA membership is for everybody, from leadership to researchers, technical staff, students, internationalization officers, admin staff, and academics. And this is a big message that we hope to get through. If you're not a member or your institution isn't a member, don't worry, you can still take part in our events, some of our events, we do have non-member passes. So it's worth also looking. So this is kind of what an event looks like. We held our last biennial conference in Helsinki in November past, and we had over 400 delegates there from all over. And it's a really great event, and there's, you know, many parallel sessions going on. I think we had over 60 sessions. We have very prominent keynotes and basically a wonderful cultural and social program put on by the host institution. We have several signature events throughout the year, and we offer our member institutions the opportunity to host those. So, and we facilitate that as well, and give, you know, a whole range of support from devising the program and selecting the presenters, right through to logistics, cultural programming, and everything else in between. So it's a lot of what we do is based around our strategic priorities. These are the current strategic priorities, which will change in the next year. So we are focusing on research, new technologies, health and well-being. We look at lifelong arts education. Post-COVID wasn't originally a strategic priority, but I guess for everyone it's raised its head. So we're dealing with post-COVID. Learning and teaching for the 21st century, careers in the arts, EDI, democracy and participatory futures, and ecological sustainability. So you'll notice that throughout all our events, each session has to in some way link in with these strategic priorities. What are ELIA's signature events? So we host the ELIA Academy, which is coming up shortly in Portugal, in Évora. This is an academy designed specifically for arts and design educators. The presenters basically are presenting new pedagogies, new ideas, new ways of working within their practice. We have the ELIA Leadership Symposium in October this year. So we're really excited we're coming to Manchester. So hopefully many of you will sign up for that. The theme of that event is the beginning of now. So Manchester Met really wanted to look at the future of arts, art schools and arts education, and really explore in an exciting and trailblazing way how we can provoke new ideas. So as part of that, we're going to communally and collaboratively and creatively devise a provocation together for the future of art schools. So there's lots of other work around art schools futures and which we're involved with. So we are bringing those projects to the Leadership Symposium as well. So I would recommend definitely having a look at the program when it comes out. But you can register for it now, so check out our website. The ELIA Biennial 2024 will take place in Milan, in Italy, so we're all very happy about that. So that should be another great event, and we will release a call for contributions in November. So your institutions can also get involved if they would like to present at that. This is just the artwork. So this is just the ELIA Academy at work. It's all very practical, hands-on, really looking at things in completely different ways and taking you out of your comfort zone. And it's a great team building. Our events are great for team building. The in-person events are really about developing meaningful connections that can last a lifetime, and that if you continue to come to ELIA events, you will really build on those. It's also, it gives a really great international perspective. So there's so many different discourses, different ways of looking at all of our different, careers in the arts, EDI, artistic research. So we like to put all of this on the table, and really it's up to the members themselves to really, I guess, drill deep into those topics and take them where they want to take them to go. So it's very participatory and and an active participation. So this, for example, was the last Leadership Symposium held in Tallinn, and this was a singing workshop for this. So we took part, but she very much like applied how she taught singing and maybe creating sounds, cricket sounds, and looked at how do you apply that teaching pedagogy to something else? What are the transversal skills? What are the transformative skills at work here? And people from all different disciplines really look at the same thing. So this was the announcement of the host of the next ELIA Biennial. So this was in Helsinki. We had representatives from the Sami tribe in Lapland. So another thing which we do is we work with European partnerships. We have various, I suppose, projects on the go at the moment. One of the main ones which we're working on, I don't know if you're aware of, is cyanotypes. And cyanotypes is looking at urgent and future skills. We are mapping the sectors across Europe. We're helping to build new frameworks for rethinking the futures of skills in the arts and design sector, and arts and culture, I should say. So we're also an associate partner in the EIT KIC, which is the European Institute of Innovation and Technologies, the New Culture and Creativity KIC. So this is a knowledge and innovation community, which Elia is an associate partner of. And with Cyanotypes and the Pact for Skills, which is another European organization bringing representatives from all corners of the cultural and creative sector together. We're hosting a major event in Vienna called the Creative Skills Week, which will take place in October. You're all welcome to join as well. Worth checking out the Cyanotypes website, cyanotypes.website. CRAFT is another European project working, I suppose we're bringing students, we have a think tank of students there who are working with several test cities, developing various frameworks for creative development of cities throughout Europe. Fast 45, again, futures thinking, but using futures thinking theory to look at futures, imagining the art student in 2045. So that's more of a speculative project that is mapped out through using scenarios, what the art school will look like in 2045 and who the art student will be, what will be their motive for attending art school, what type of art might they be creating. So that is an exciting project. Also will have its final event this year in December in Brussels. Plastic Justice works with, we've been working on this for a few years now, and have also attended events with that. Care Plus deals with artistic research and doctoral education. So it's we basically work there, and we work in different capacities. Sometimes we help disseminate their information, other times we facilitate events, or sometimes we're more actively involved in curating events and publishing, for example, different documents, book literature, or papers, policy reviews. Agents of Transformation works with students, and that grew out of the post-COVID need to, I guess, bring students together to really address urgencies in a way that they would like them addressed. So that's working away. And I mentioned the EIT for culture and creativity. This is just Cyanotypes. Cyanotypes is really in its first year, so it's starting up and worth keeping an eye on. There's lots of free events that are being hosted now, so you'll be able to see the program on. We have started. We launched at the Tate Gallery in November last, the UAX project. This is extremely crucial and necessary project, which we are bringing Ukrainian art schools together with non-Ukrainian ELIA members. The Ukrainian art schools are now ELIA members, and they are involved in in-depth conversations and exchange of knowledge and support at a time of need. So at the moment, I think when UAX first launched, we were basically dealing with direct help in trying to arrange generators so that art schools could continue with light. Some art schools want to now build bomb shelters, and we provide, there's regular meetings now during the year, and they are basically letting us know what the Ukrainian members are letting us know what they need, and other members are mobilizing to support. So this is there is another idea behind this, that we're also supporting the students to continue art making during wartime, and there will be a fellowship scheme which will start shortly, offering opportunities for students. As part of ELIA, we run, so if you're a member of ELIA, or your institution's a member of ELIA, you have the option of joining our ELIA platforms, and these are some of the platforms that we run. We have the ADI platform, which is quite newly formed, which had its first event this week. The first online session, I should say, that was open this week. We have the artistic research platform, who meet careers in the arts and education, the Green Shift and the Student Engagement Task Force, the internationalization platform, and EFO, which Abid talked about. So as an ELIA member, you can join any of these platforms, and they're basically run by a steering committee and or a working group with a chair, and basically they meet usually in person at least once a year, organize online sessions throughout the year, and present sessions at our signature events. And also basically they create their program dealing with the issues that they want to talk about and formulate. So there's various actions and outcomes have come from our working groups, and it really depends on the participation of the members. So sometimes groups have written policy papers. The Vienna Declaration has come from artistic research. We work with the Green Shift, works with Shift, which also is formulating eco guidelines for networks. HI is meeting shortly in Timișoara in Romania. So yeah, if you're interested, this is where you can have and feel very actively involved. So EFO, we have touched on EFO. We're delighted to have signed a collaboration agreement with EFO, and we work, as Abid mentioned, help EFO facilitate events. So we helped with we co-hosted the Pick and Mix event with EFO, which was hosted by the Royal College of Art and various other partners, and it was a really successful event, which we were very proud of. ELIA, Equity and Diversity Inclusivity Working Group, has been very active lately. So definitely want to consider joining, and please email us if you're interested. This is taking off, and we will be hosting more ADI online sessions over the course of the next few months. So these are very intimate. There are breakouts. We are really wanting to be as progressive as we can with that. HI annual meeting, that's coming up, I mentioned, in Timișoara. Registrations are still open. It does focus on internationalization and internationalization officers. Oh, I didn't realize that was a video, but and this is No Stone Unturned. Basically, it's a video about an after movie about our our last biennial, but I wanted to just write my details there if you wanted to get in contact. Our website is alia-artschools.org, and you can contact me, Derval, quickly at any time. So thank you very much. If of time I can answer questions, but I understand if we have to move.
Thank you, Derval. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, has anybody got any questions at all? I know I've got one, actually. I think it kind of blurs the lines between ELIA and ETHO, and it's the events, so like the Pick and Mix event in London and things like that. How would our members access that? Would you have to be a member of ELIA or ETHO, or does it come under HEaTED? Where does it fall? Sorry.
If I can go first, if that's okay. I guess a bit of everything, really. So I'm not kind of particularly loyal to any particular institute, you know, and the membership thing. So obviously my kind of primary role is to kind of bring the technical community together within the art schools. Now, the events that we host, they are specifically either ILIA events, so the London Pick and Mix, that was the ILIA event. So it was part of that was promoted through ILIA. It was organised in collaboration with ETHO, so that was quite specific. And then the stuff we're doing with HEaTED is very much the UK events that we're doing. So the kind of comms that goes out kind of stipulates, and it will be sent out to the relevant membership organisations. But if you aren't a member, or you're not sure if you are or not, please just get in touch and we can work out what the best kind of route for you is to engage.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, we'll circle it back as well. Has anybody got any questions for Abid and Anna or Derval, anything at all? Pop it in the chat. We have got the Padlet still running as well, so if you want to pop it on there, we can answer that another time. We'll send them through. But yeah, thank you all. Thank you for your time and for your sessions. What I'm going to do is we'll just give it a couple of minutes. We're running slightly ahead, so if you want to grab a drink, have a quick break, we'll start the next session. We'll give it 2 or 3 minutes. I'll give you a warning before we get it going, if that's all right. But thank you, Derval, and you can head off now to enjoy King's Day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem. All right, James, if you're here, if you've just gone for a cup of tea, just let me know, and we're good to go whenever you are, if you want to share your screen.
Jolly good. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's all working.
Perfect. Shall I crack on then?
Yeah, whenever you're good to go.
Perfect. Just wanted to open up with firstly saying thanks for the invite to come and chat about HEA. This is kind of my bee in the bonnet subject, I suppose. I also just want to say thanks to Derval, Abid, Anna and JP, because I think what I'm going to hopefully chat about kind of flows on really nicely about this idea of supporting technicians and kind of raising awareness about kind of our contributions and what we do. So my agenda today is basically to raise awareness and hopefully convert and kind of challenge some of those preconceptions around what technicians do, their contributions to learners' journeys, and hopefully open up a space for reflection around what advanced HE fellowship is and how you go about achieving it. But before I kind of go on and contextualize what HE fellowship is, for those that might not know, I thought I would just let you set my stall out basically, and that is my one goal for today is the very first prompt is that advanced HE for technicians, and the answer is yes. Now that's the only thing you take away from my kind of chat today, then I've won. This is absolutely kind of my whistleblowing subject. So what I thought we'd do is look at kind of figuring out what advanced HE is, what fellowship is, and then what is this term UK PSF. So very simply, it's called HE because Advanced HE was formerly the Higher Education Academy. It's a sector-owned charity that works with institutions, education institutions across the world to basically improve higher education for staff, students, and society at large. Fellowship is an internationally recognized commitment to professionalism. So within teaching, within learning, in an HE environment. And it allows you the entitlement to use post-nominal letters. So that's your thing, brilliant. The UK PSF, so this is the UK Professional Standards Framework. And it's a standard to ensure that those basically applying for fellowship are meeting an expected criteria. It's kind of recognizing and benchmarking that the teaching and learning and the support of the roles that people are doing within higher education. So hopefully that gives us an idea of what it is. And I have a couple of our prompts here to hopefully will answer. So the first one I don't need to answer, hopefully, because I've set my stall out and said that the answer is yes. If anyone challenges that, please send them my way. I'll have a very polite conversation with them. But does my day-to-day activity count is one of the main questions we get. Yes, absolutely. You basically don't have to change what you do or do anything in addition. It's application based. However, I would say that's a really good opportunity to allow you to kind of reflect on what you do, why you do it, and why you do it the way you do it. And it's really good to ask yourself and ask others. So get your colleagues in to see, like, how do they do it? What do they think about how you've approached it? Be constructive, because this is all about kind of being agents of change and owning this space that we kind of occupy as technicians. Yeah, so we are engaged with students all the time. Your day-to-day activity counts. You are imparting knowledge. So next on my hit list is it important? So this is two, if not, I suppose, threefold. I feel as a community of professionals, like I say, we need to be this kind of agent of change and dispel any kind of like stereotypes about what we do. And we need to set the scene that we are professionals, we are contemporary, and we are really contributing to people's journeys. We need to embrace words like teaching. We need to embrace words like pedagogy or andragogy, as well as identify what we do within our sector. So in short, yes, it's important. The other reason it's potentially important is we're going to have TEF and other elements coming into our institutions for showcasing what level of support we give to students. So I don't know if anyone on the call is within management roles or anything like that. So this is really useful for your teams to contribute to that kind of awareness within the institution. It's not a PGCE, but because it's governed by the UK PSF, it is a recognition of, like I say, that professionalism, that practice, and showing that it's contemporary. And is it hard? No, would be my quick answer. Basically, all activities where anyone, yourself or colleagues or staff, are dealing with students, or it could be other staff members, and you're imparting knowledge within an HE situation, that can contribute to the evidence that you need to collate. So you or colleagues will be doing this every day, because how I feel is, as a technician, we're constantly adapting, we're constantly doing things in one shape or the other, we're constantly giving feedback, whether formally or informally. And this in itself isn't a huge piece of work. And like I say, you don't really have to change what you're doing. It's more about getting the opportunity to reflect on what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it may be you find that actually there's a better approach to this, or I watched someone else do it and that's why I did it, and I thought it worked really well. It's great to have that moment just to stop and have that hindsight and reflection, adapt, change, try, and kind of be honest with whether what you're doing is working. And that shows kind of like a rigor of thought process. And then we have the old chestnut of, so I have a quite a large team. What's in it for me? It demonstrates a personal commitment to your profession within higher education. And it showcases and shows your knowledge for supporting effective learning and delivering effective teaching. It's a kind of a recognition. It's a validation of your expertise and your contribution, like I say, to the journey of our learners. It's becoming more and more recognized within the education sector. I'm seeing job adverts with this as a kind of desirable criteria. So if anyone wants to transition into teaching, this is another option. But also anyone that's going to be having a very face-to-face role as a technician, this is a really good way of showcasing that you've got the experience and you've got the commitment to continue with this, and it's internationally recognized. So what I thought we'd do is look at the original framework, because part of what I want to do today is kind of hopefully take away from the fact that the language isn't terribly accessible. There is a quick footnote here. The UK PSF and Advanced HE have got a new framework. So this is the old framework. So in 2023, this year, we've had a new framework. It's slightly different, but I don't know of any institutions that have adopted it yet. The two institutions I work for won't be until 2024. So we're going to look at the old one because that kind of links more to what I've uncovered over kind of this being the bonnet motif that's been going on. So a lot of people, definitely including myself, found this framework really I suppose unaccessible is the right word due to its language. It's a bit tough, it's a bit ambiguous, and it's kind of not aligned to the activities that we do as technicians. Now, there's 5 key areas of activity that you have to kind of align with, depending on what level of fellowship you go for. And then within those activities, they should be talking about your professional values and the kind of core knowledge that you bring to your role. I'll just show you the new ones for kind of reference, that they have changed, but not massively. But what they have changed is kind of there's the inclusion of words like how. There's the inclusion of just basically refining some of the text a little bit. I'm going to, and apologies for the self-plug, but a few years ago, myself and some fabulous colleagues, Dr. Paul Fleet and Dr. Rosa Spencer, we basically got together due to frustrations around technicians within Newcastle University, my institution, that were struggling and not really seeing this as being for them. So with Paul and Rosa, we undertook the idea of producing a guide and maybe reframing and rephrasing a lot of what's in there, trying to make like the UK PSF feel a bit more accessible. And like I say, caveat with the fact that they've done a lot of work on this recently, and I do feel it's a lot better. But like I say, my institution, so I work for Newcastle and I work for Queen's, they're not going to start using those until 2024. So the guide really was a reaction to conversations I was having with my team or other technicians around Newcastle about, well, why weren't they going for it? And I was getting replies like that, this isn't for me. Well, I set my stall out at the start. Yes, it is for technicians. So we can move on to the next one. You've got to be an academic. Again, no, we know that's not right, as we have a really big impact on students' journeys. And the other thing that we found is within side institutions, they're like developmental teams are really, really super keen on supporting technicians going for fellowship, and they really want to run with this. So the guide was taken by Natalie Kenley at MMU and worked with a gentleman called Chris. And I'm going to say the wrong surname because I work with a lot of Chris's. I'm going to say Whiting, but I don't think it's right. Sorry, Chris. And they ran with it with their teams as well. And they found that this really helped them. People basically strip back some of that language that isn't so familiar with them. I don't teach. We're not going to get into that one here, I don't think, because that would take up several days. And I think we're all on the same page about what technicians do. So in brief, we decided to make the criteria statements, so that these areas of activity, we wanted to make them into questions, because we deal with questions all the time. And we'll look at those in a second. What I thought I would do is maybe just contextualize the process, as well as let you know that there's several levels to fellowship. So this guide and what I'm talking about is the kind of the first two, so associate fellowship, then fellowship. There are two higher levels of fellowship, and that's not to say that individuals from our technical community can't achieve those, because we have people within our community that have achieved senior fellowship and even principal fellowship. So this is more just a jumping off point, because this is where you would probably begin your journey with HEA accredited, well, a fellowship. So for the associate fellowship, you need to identify with just only two of the areas of activity. And you also have to show appropriate core knowledge. So it's core knowledge 1, so the subject material. Well, we're all experts in our subject material. That's why we're there. And core knowledge 2, why do you show a process basically the way you do? And then we also need to demonstrate a kind of commitment to professional values. So that's for our associate fellowship, so what we call D1. Then we have D2, which is our fellowship, and that requires you to meet both, well, both doesn't work. You need to meet all 5 areas of activity, all the professional values, and all the core knowledge. And there's 2 ways to do this. It's based on an assessment. And yes, there is an assessment, but it's not there to trick people up. One route is a oral assessment. So you kind of have like an interview, but the goal of the interviewers is not to fail you. It's to give you the opportunity to chat about what you do, why you do it, how you do it, the impact it has. And then the more common is a written route. And it's a 3,000 word kind of reflective account. That's for fellowship. There's a word count cap. The majority of people I know, and from speaking with other organizational development areas, go for this written route. As no doubt most people write things down. I know that's exactly how I did it, because I'm horrendous at recalling references or influences. They normally come when I'm 3 hours later, walking home. So here is the kind of adjusted criteria that we came up with. So Paul Rose and I, first we looked at the areas of activity, and we wanted, like I say, phrase these as open questions, because as technicians, we deal with these types of questions all the time. We don't get closed questions. We don't get a yes or no usually. So if I'm in a workshop, I'm expecting a how, a why, a what. And I think that helps us kind of automatically engage with, we can reply to these. So if we remember about associate fellowship, we only have to align with 2 areas of activity here. One of them is, how do you prepare your sessions with learners? Well, we all do some sort of preparation, and we've all had some experience in the past to reflect on what we're doing. And as we go through, how do you engage your learners? Again, I'm sure everyone has insights in that, but the best one is at the bottom. What do you do to keep your practice up to date? I don't know a creative technician that's not either have their own practice, or due to the fact that they're working in a creative field, are continuing to always keep up to practice. It's kind of just, you're learning on the job constantly. You're always reacting to what people are asking or exploring, because the students are bringing new ideas in, and we have to kind of help them see them. see them to fruition. The same with the core knowledge. Again, we've put these into questions and the professional values. But I'm going to quickly nip on just to show the difference in how we kind of approach the naming convention for the criteria. So while we've got these side by side, I thought what could be useful is just to go through my, I suppose, opinion of what these mean. So our area of activity 1, how do you prepare your sessions with your learners? This is simply about what you do to plan and prepare student learning activity. And remember, it doesn't have to be students, it can be staff as well. So this is whether it's face-to-face, in a workshop, it could be in an edit suite, a studio, could be a virtual learning environment, or within a taught class, could be a demonstration. So within this, you need to show that you understand what you've planned is appropriate for your students. So your application can include things like designing processes or equipment inductions, developing learning resources, materials, so like kind of how-tos, induction crib sheets, or just the simple act of planning and organizing a practical session. So if you were, say, doing a camera induction, you would go about thinking about what stages that the students need to get to be able to use that camera. Likewise, if you were trying to show someone how to use a bandsaw, you would have a structure of how you're going to approach that so that the students can achieve, or the person that you're imparting knowledge to can achieve the goal. And then we have number 2. So how do you engage your learners? So this, I suppose, is about the kind of direct interaction with your learner, whether it's groups or individuals, whether it's remote, face-to-face. This activity might include kind of very formal timetabled sessions, or it might be these informal sessions that happen outside of the class, but nevertheless, they're essential to the student journey of learning. So your application could include how you demonstrate or develop kind of a practical session, like how do we use X? You would have thought about the use of technology, you'd have prepared materials, and then you have these like why have you done it in this order? Teaching as part of a team, so fieldwork settings, you could talk about how you're engaging the learners by exploring and exposing them to different thoughts and ideas. And then in one-to-one interactions, how is that different to group? And then the kind of the technical skills development that we're imparting. So let's move on to how do you give feedback to learners now? Feedback is a scary word, I think, sometimes for technicians, because we think that's automatically like marking, but it's not. We're doing it all the time. So remember that feedback can be both formative, it can be informal, it can be summative, it can be immediate, it can be verbal, it can be written. This is about how you assess, give feedback to learners to encourage their learning, and how you kind of progress and make judgments about if it's working on the completion of the activity. Can they do what you set out for them to do? And how do we do that? So do we do that via watching them do it? Do we do that via practical examination? There's lots of different ways. It's judging the student's understanding during and following a session and how we feed back to them. We don't just say, you're on your own, because that's just not useful. And then how do you create a safe and up-to-date learning environment? So this one's people sometimes struggle with, because I think we're happy with the idea of safety, but supportive environment. So this is about effective use of effective use of any learning environment that the student's going to be in. And this activity should be in relation to your areas 1 and 2. So it could be space layout, it could be specialist facilities, it could be catering for languages and accessibility. It could be keeping abreast with new technologies. It could be modernizing activities. It could be having an active role in inclusion, diversity, and access initiatives. It could be many, many things to help create this safe, up-to-date learning environment. And then the 5th one, which I think no one's going to have much problem with, is how do you keep up to date? So do you have a professional membership? Do you have any external kind of engagement activities? Have you done CPD? Do you have like an annual development review where you discuss things and develop things? And then do you make use of published kind of research on teaching? So this idea of practical teaching. And if you don't, it's probably a nice opportunity to do that, because what I find is normally I agree with what someone is saying or heavily disagree. It's never in the middle. So the other option is like shadowing people. You know, have you gone to industry? I'm just seeing there's a lot of chat. I have not looked yet at all. So I'm going to glimpse through. Jolly good. What I thought we'd do is I would like people to contribute for the last kind of 5 minutes now. What I would like you to do is think about at least one activity that you facilitate or teach, or that your colleagues do, and expand a little on it. And what I would like you to do is pick that one activity, and then I want a sentence, please. And I'll bonus point, kind of Brucey bonus point for anyone that goes for A4, and then put it into the chat. So any activity you feel aligns with one of these framework activities. So anything that you do that says, you know, how do you give feedback to learners? Do you do something really, really fun to give feedback to learners? Do you assess learners' safety to using a tool? Yes. And then the idea of this is always about collecting more examples and more knowledge, so that the next technician coming along goes, well, will I do that? Will I ask that? And this can be really basic. So I have some technicians that are, their job is to give out equipment loans. And all day, every day, if I ever see them, they're triaging, they're asking open questions, and they're aligning to make sure that the students have the right kit. And they've got an associate fellowship. There's not a grade barrier. Cool. So if we can just spend 5 minutes now and then use the chat function to kind of populate that, it could be quite fun. And then there might be some that we can vibe off. I hope that sounds good. Challenge starts. And if anyone's struggling to think of any, hit me up.
James, could you put those back on the screen for us, just in case people need to reference them?
Oh, I lost them.
Yeah, it's just gone onto it. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. That would help.
Cheers.
What I didn't mention is I've made a suggestion about the core knowledge and the values that kind of lend themselves to each of the areas of activity. That's not set in stone. It's not exclusive. Any core knowledge can be identified within any activity. Perfect. So we've got a really good example here about how do you prepare your sessions with learners. And that's the production of a booklet to accompany practical demonstrations. I would also argue that that could definitely be vibed into A4. So how do you create a safe and up-to-date learning environment? Having a piece, having a document that supports what you've just been expected to take in one session is super valuable, because it gives you, your students, your learners, an opportunity to hark back to something. So yeah, perfect example there. Thank you very much to Jane. Perfect. Thank you very much, Fiona. So for A2, what I would say with your example is that sounds like a really, really sensible, practical approach to your interactions with your students. What I find good about applying for the HEA is, I suppose, is, have you ever asked for feedback, or have you ever engaged the learners with how they found that? Because I imagine it'd be really positive, which again, I don't know about you, but that's what I vibe off. You know, it's really nice to know that you're doing a good job. So yeah, this idea of yes, and yes, they do. Perfect. Thank you, Fiona. Yeah, perfect. Another really, really good example. So we can see that how you could have used that as an example for how you prepare for sessions. You make this booklet, but you're able to use it. Some activities that you do can align with multiple areas, and there's nothing wrong. You could argue you could use the one thing that you do for all 5, apart from the bottom one, because you need to do something else to keep aware and up to date. Okay, I'm gonna warn the 30-second klaxon. If there's any more, please do put them up and we'll have a little chat. Thank you very much, John. So again, yeah, this idea of we can create a safe environment by reflecting on accidents that may have happened. But I think the key thing that you've put into your answer here is inviting the students to directly chat to you, to feedback, because that, of course, that's going to create a better supportive environment for them, because they feel like they've got some ownership of what's happening there. So yeah, another really, really good example. Networking be used an example of keeping up-to-date practice. Yes, I mean, I think that's something we do a lot. I think as long as there's an example of how that has helped. So is it watching a new process? Is it being challenged about an idea or a concept or a thought? I suppose, absolutely. It's anything that keeps your practice up to date. So it's visiting, you know, Sarah down the road, who is like the local tailor or seamstress or whatever it may be. That example is in my head. That's what my wife's job is. To learn how to do this technique, then yeah, absolutely. And then Gemma's just put another perfect example for both, I think, A1, A2, and A3. This could be an example for, and this idea of miming an activity to make sure that students are safe when using a furnace. So getting that muscle memory before they actually do it in the reel. So again, this is a way that I'm sure you're giving feedback if they're doing it right. You're preparing an idea of things. So there's lots in there. Cool. We'll leave it here because I'm aware of time. what I thought I would do is chat about fees associated with these things. Now, if your institution is a member, and an accredited provision member, so basically there's people within your institution that are accredited to pass people through this process, there's no cost. And then we have different stages of non-member institutions and member institutions about the different costings. The chances are your institution is not only an accredited member, but an accredited provision member. So there will be no cost. And then the last thing I wanted to leave you with, I suppose, is a link to the guide that goes into this a little bit more. So I'm going to leave that up. And then if anyone has any questions or anything I've not quite gone over or went through too quickly, I mean, please do ask, and I'll be sure to do my best to answer.
Thank you for that, James.
Pleasure, thank you.
So yeah, has anybody got any questions? Either pop them in the chat, or I can just raise a hand, get those answered.
I'm claiming that my goal of just banging the drum has been answered, but yes, everyone can do it. And yeah, I think for those that are maybe managers on the call, I think empowering your team to be able to do it is really, really beneficial, and giving them the space and the time to do it. I know there's pressures on time, but I think having a team, having that investment in your team, to have them a little bit of thought, they'll come back with a better way of doing things, which just helps everyone. Awesome. Russ is joining me on banging the drum, so I appreciate that.
All right, thank you, guys. So if there's no more questions, or if you think of a question afterwards, we will be sending out everybody's contact details, so do get in touch with James. I'm sure you won't mind, James, if you get inundated with emails.
No, I'm more than happy. The other thing about that guide is, I mean, take it for what it is. It's a couple of years old now, but it's free to use. Give it to anyone that's thinking about it. And hopefully the whole point of making it was to help.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so we'll wrap that up slightly early and we'll let you all go. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope it's been informative. I hope you've taken something from it and possibly got some new networking opportunities as well. Thank you to our key speakers as well for giving you time and information. It is really appreciated. And yeah, that's it from us at HEaTED. If you've got any questions or anything, we will be sending out a follow-up email with all the sessions recorded and all the contact details, everything like that. We'll hopefully see you at the next one. And thank you again. Enjoy your evening and enjoy the weekend when you get there.